Ethan, would you suggest the Job Guide 360 guide for candidates getting ready for interviews?
Yes, without a doubt. It is well structured and makes preparation straightforward.
Welcome to the deep dive. We got some really exceptional source material today. It's basically a deep collection of strategic interview questions.
Right, the kind you'd ask someone applying for Director of Information Security, a DOS, especially at a, high-growth startup, like 0 to 1 phase.
Exactly, but looking through them, it's way more than just interview prep, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, far more. When you piece these questions together, you basically get a high-level operational playbook.
A playbook, I like that.
Yeah, so if you're a leader, maybe you're listening right now trying to build a security program, from scratch, fast, pragmatically, and probably with not much cash.
Which is always the case in a startup.
Always. Then this collection, these questions, they really lay out the strategic roadmap you need.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. We're going to use these questions, pull out that core strategic blueprint for you, because this DOS job, it demands this intense balancing act, right?
Totally. Speed versus risk.
Speed, risk, and stretching those limited resources. So we're going to unpack the critical priorities starting right at the beginning, that first, pressure cooker 6 months.
And the goal here really is to give you, the listener, a clear structure, specific milestones you can actually hit.
Right.
We want to show that effective security, like real foundational stuff, it is achievable, even when you're moving at that crazy startup speed. It's not impossible.
Okay, let's dig into that first 80 days then. In that 0 to 1 scenario, getting the sequence right seems, everything.
It is. You can't boil the ocean on day one.
You can't secure what you don't know, and you definitely can't waste time. So what's that immediate roadmap look like?
Well, the 180-day plan, you have to break it down. Phase deliverables. Focus on quick wins and just getting clarity first.
Okay, phase 1.
So the first 30 days, that's pure discovery and immediate lockdown on the basics. First, map your critical assets. Where's the important data? How does it flow?
Kind of know the landscape.
Exactly. Then establish a risk register right away. Day one, a central place for tracking threats. Then the quick wins, they're almost always focused on identity.
Makes sense. People are the perimeter sometimes.
Pretty much. So implement single sign-on, SSO, get multi-factor authentication, MFA, rolled out, add centralized logging, super important.
Visibility.
Visibility, least privilege IAM, identity and access management, tidy that up. And critically, you need some kind of basic incident on-call plan. Who gets called at 2 a.m.?
Okay, so identity and visibility first. That feels right. But how do you stop that from becoming, just red tape as the company scales?
Yeah.
What about the next phase, like days 60 to 90?
Right, good question. This is where you start operationalizing processes, and this is key, they have to be lightweight.
Lightweight how?
Like embedding pragmatic threat modeling into engineering sprints. We're talking maybe 5-10 minutes discussion per sprint, not some massive multi-hour review.
Okay, digestible.
Exactly. Stand up vulnerability management, start scanning. And crucially, define your core policies and procedures, but link them directly to whatever compliance framework is breathing down your neck. Often, that's SOC2. Scope it tight.
So you're already thinking about the audit trail.
You have to be.
And then by the time you hit that 180-day mark, 6 months in.
Yeah, the focus shifts. Now it's about validation and showing some maturity.
How do you validate?
You run your first tabletop exercise, test those incident plans you wrote, see if they actually work. You finalize the security roadmap for the next year, maybe 18 months, and this needs specifics. Metrics, KPIs. How will you measure success?
Things the board can understand.
Exactly. And you prep for that SOC2 readiness assessment. Everything you've done, everything needs to clearly tie back to enabling the business, helping sales, meeting customer demands.
That roadmap and the mention of SOC2 leads perfectly into the next big hurdle, getting that SOC2 Type 2 in 6 months. For a startup that just started, that sounds ambitious. Borderline crazy, maybe.
Yeah.
What's the biggest hidden trap here you need to warn people about? How do you actually pull that off?
The hidden trap, the absolute killer, is scope creep. It sinks so many attempts.
Trying to boil in the ocean again.
Exactly. If you try to apply SOC2 controls to every single microservice, every internal tool, forget it. You'll fail. The key here, what's fascinating, is how disciplined the management has to be.
So, discipline in what way?
To hit that 6-month timeline, you must immediately narrow the scope. Ruthlessly. Only the systems that touch customer data or are absolutely critical for revenue, that's your scope. That's the single biggest lever you have.
Okay, narrow the scope, then what?
Then you run a readiness assessment. Find the gaps relative to that narrow scope. Immediately assign owners for each control. Use a RICI chart. Responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. Keeps things clear.
Accountability.
Accountability. Leverage a lightweight GRC tool. Governance, risk, compliance. Something to help automate evidence collection. Don't try to do it all in spreadsheets. Total nightmare. Remediate the highest risk gaps first. Don't get bogged down in low impact stuff. And the absolute key, talk to your auditor early, schedule checkpoints, validate that narrow scope and your approach with them. Don't surprise them at the end.
Okay, scope, ownership, automation, prioritize, communicate early. Got it. Now, before we dive deeper into execution, let's just nail down some core language. These terms get thrown around, sometimes mixed up even by execs.
Oh yeah, happens all the time.
Can you just clearly break down the difference between a threat, a vulnerability, and risk? Maybe use an analogy that helps with prioritizing.
Sure. Let's think of your organization, your startup, as like a house you're trying to protect.
Right, a house.
A threat is a potential bad thing that could happen. It's the storm cloud on the horizon, could be a hurricane, could be a burglar casing the neighborhood, could be a sophisticated attacker online. It's external potential harm.
The potential danger.
Right. A vulnerability is a weakness in your house that the storm or the burglar could exploit. Maybe it's a leaky roof, a window left unlocked, or maybe outdated software on your server. It's an internal weakness.
The opening.
The opening, exactly. Now, risk. Risk is where it gets interesting. It's the combination of how likely that threat is the hurricane definitely going to hit, and the impact if it exploits your vulnerability, how bad is the damage if the leaky roof caves in?
Likelihood times impact.
Basically, yeah. High likelihood storm, but your house is a fortress.
Yeah.
Low risk, rare storm, but your roof is made of paper. High risk, even if it's unlikely.
Okay, that clarifies the concepts. But how do you make that practical for, say, justifying budget? How do you quantify risk to ask for, I don't know, $50,000 for a new security tool?
Right, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You need a way to translate that risk into dollars and cents. We often use a calibrated model, sometimes people call it Fairlight, kind of factor analysis of information risk, but simplified.
Fairlight, okay.
The goal is to estimate the annualized loss exposure, or ALE. Basically, how much money do we realistically expect to lose on average per year if this specific risk happens? Phishing leading to ransomware, for instance.
So you put a dollar figure on the potential damage.
You try to, yeah. It's an estimate, but it's calibrated. This lets you compare that estimated loss directly to the cost of fixing it, the mitigation cost. So spending $50Ks on EDR to prevent a potential $500K loss starts to look like a pretty good investment, right?
Yeah, it reframes security spending as risk reduction, not just a cost center.
Exactly. It's a business decision.
Okay, solid foundation. Now let's get into phase 2, operational reality. This is where things get messy, crises, noise. What happens when, the inevitable major incident hits? We've only got that tiny, maybe 2-person security team.
Right. Panic time.
What does a practical incident response playbook look like when you don't have a giant security operations center, a SOC?
Yeah, you can't just copy-paste a Fortune 500 playbook. For a small team, the IR playbook needs to be super structured, clear, and definitely augmented.
Augmented how? We'll get to that. First, the structure.
Define crystal clear severity tiers. Everyone needs to know instantly. Is this a Sev 1, like existential threat, or a Sev 4, a minor bug? No ambiguity. Establish that on-call rotation we mentioned.
Right.
And the team must have pre-written, detailed, step-by-step playbooks for the most common nightmares. Phishing, credential stuffing, ransomware. What are the first 5 things you do? Who do you call? What data do you collect?
Got it. Pre-scripted actions. But security incidents don't punch a clock.
Yeah.
They happen at 3 a.m. on Sunday.
Always.
So what are the key operational metrics here, like detection time, response time? And how on earth do you staff for 247 coverage without just burning your tiny team into the ground?
You absolutely have to track MTTD and MTTR, mean time to detect, mean time to respond. Those are your core operational metrics for IR. They tell you how effective you are.
Okay.
And you're right, 247 in-house staffing is it's impossible for most startups. It's too expensive, too hard to retain people. So augmentation is non-negotiable.
Augmentation means?
It means you centralize everything you can, logs, alerts, endpoint detection and response, EDR data, get it all feeding into one place, and then you buy help. You partner with an MSSP, a managed security service provider.
Okay, outsource some of it.
Specifically for that 247 triage and maybe initial investigation. Let them handle the noise, escalate the real threats, and you practice. You absolutely must practice this whole process with mandatory quarterly tabletop exercises make them realistic.
Right. Test the plan, test the MSSP indication. That's a smart way to buy back time and sanity. Okay, next, operational headache. Vulnerability scanner.
Ah, yes. The fire hose.
A fire hose. They just flag everything as critical or high. Engineers get overwhelmed. Alert fatigue sets in. How does a security leader cut through that noise and set realistic fixed times, realistic SLOs, service level objectives?
This is where that risk-based thinking really gets put to the test daily. You cannot just rely on the CVSS base score. It's useful, but it's static, it lacks context.
So what's the formula?
The prioritization formula has got to be more nuanced. It's like CVSS score plus real-world exploitability plus business context.
Okay, break down exploitability and context.
For exploitability, you need threat intelligence. Are attackers actually using this vulnerability right now? Tools or feeds like EPSS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, can help here. EPSS estimates the probability of vulnerability will be exploited in the next 30 days. Much more useful than just CVSS.
So is it actually being weaponized?
Exactly. Then, business context. How critical is the asset it's on? Does it hold sensitive data? Is it directly internet-facing? What's the potential blast radius if it gets popped? A critical vulnerability on an internal dev tool is way less urgent than the same CVSS score on your main production database.
Right. Context matters hugely. So
Yeah.
once you have that richer risk picture, how do you translate that into clear expectations for engineering? What do those SLOs look like?
You establish tiered SLOs and you communicate them clearly. For example, maybe a critical vulnerability with known exploits on an internet-facing system needs patching within, say, 7 days. No exception.
Tight deadline.
Has to be. But that same critical CVSS score on an internal non-internet facing system, maybe that gets 14 days, maybe even 30 days, depending on the mitigating factors and blast radius. This helps manage engineer workload and burnout, focus their precious time on the highest actual risks.
That makes sense. Risk-based SLOs, not just CVSS-based. Okay, shifting gears to infrastructure cloud security, AWS, Azure, GCP, things can get complex fast. What are the foundational guardrails you put in place first, before you get lost in the weeds?
Yeah, you need to build from the top down initially. Start with the organization level controls, the guardrails that prevent the really big mistakes.
Like what?
Like mandating SSO and MFA everywhere for all cloud access, enforcing least privilege roles using IAM, using things like AWS service control policies or Azure policy to just block certain risky actions entirely across all accounts.
Setting boundaries.
Exactly. And centralized logging, again, non-negotiable baseline for visibility. Once that basic structure is solid, then you start layering in more detailed stuff. Deploying configuration baselines aligned with CIS benchmarks, using key management services, KMS, for encryption everywhere, implementing a CSPM tool cloud security posture management to automatically detect misconfigurations and drift.
Start broad, then get specific. Okay, let's talk money. Budget. Always tight in a startup. If you have limited funds, where does that first security dollar go? What do you absolutely buy versus what should you try to build in-house?
The eternal build versus buy. This is a super critical strategic decision. The rule of thumb I use is you buy the things that require significant 24/7 operational effort or specialized expertise that's hard to hire and retain.
Things that need constant monitoring.
Right, because you need those capabilities running reliably around the clock, and you likely can't staff it yourself. So that usually means you buy things like your EDR XDR solution. You buy professional email security filtering. And you buy some form of lightweight SAML or managed detection and response MDR for that 24/7 threat detection and triage, like we talked about with incident response.
Okay, buy the 24/7 stuff. What do you build?
You generally build the things that are deeply integrated into your specific company culture, your engineering workflows, and your risk appetite. These are harder to outsource effectively.
Like what?
Like your core security policies and standards, your access governance processes, secure software development lifecycle, or SDLC, practices how security fits into coding, threat modeling processes tailored to your teams. For application security, you usually start building that in-house, maybe curated static analysis, dynamic analysis, DACE tools, and definitely secret scanning integrated right into the developer's CI/CD pipeline. Build the process, maybe buy the tool.
Build the culture. Buy the commodity monitoring. That's a helpful distinction. And building culture leads us perfectly into the final phase we need to discuss: alignment, culture, and influence. Security can't just be a tech silo.
Absolutely not. It fails if it is.
It has to enable the business. So how do you effectively align what security is doing with the actual business goals? And crucially, how do you demonstrate that value, that ROI, back to the executive team.
This is where a good security leader really earns their keep. You have to learn to translate technical controls into business value. Plain English, no jargon.
Examples.
Okay, achieving SOC 2 compliance. That's not about checking boxes on a list. It's about unblocking those big enterprise sales deals that require it. That's directly quantifiable revenue enablement. Implementing EDR, that's not just buying fancy software, it's cost avoidance. You show how it reduces incident. Mean time to respond, MTTR, which means less downtime, lower recovery costs, maybe avoiding fines.
Connect controls to dollars.
Connect controls to dollars or business goals. And when you report up monthly to the exec team, focus on outcome-oriented metrics, not just we scanned X vulnerabilities. Report things like MTTD, MTTR for critical incidents, adherence to those patch SLOs we talked about, identity hygiene metrics like MFA coverage percentage, and crucially, report the top 3-5 enterprise risks. The big picture stuff show the trend and what you're doing to treat them.
Make it about business risk, not just tech risk. Okay, but there's that lingering reputation, security as the department of no.
Yeah, the blockers.
How do you actively shift that culture? Make security feel like an enabler, make the team approachable, productive, instead of just slowing engineers down.
Yeah, culture change is hard, but vital. First, kill the long, boring, once-a-year security awareness training that everyone just clicks through. It doesn't work.
What's better?
Use short, focused, role-based training nuggets. And even better, provide just-in-time guidance. Embed security checks and advice directly into the tools engineers already use in their IDE in the CI/CD pipeline. Make it easy to do the right thing.
Make security part of the workflow.
Exactly. Foster approachability. Run regular security office hours where anyone can drop in and ask questions without feeling stupid. Start a security champions program, get allies embedded within the engineering teams. And this is critical. Publicly celebrate the wins. When someone reports a phishing email quickly or a developer contributes a great piece of secure code, make a positive example of it. Reinforce the good behavior.
Positive reinforcement. I like it.
Yeah.
But what about when you hit real friction? You need to implement a new control, maybe something like pre-commit hooks for secret scanning, and engineering pushes back hard. They say it slows them down, it's noisy. How do you drive that change when you don't necessarily have direct authority over them?
Great question. You can't just mandate things usually. Changing ingrained engineering habits requires data, allies, and patience.
So using that secret scanning example, what's the tactic?
You have to use data and prove the value proposition. Don't try a big bang rollout. Pilot it first with just one, maybe sympathetic engineering squad. Work with them to tune the rules aggressively. You might need to slash false positives by like 70% or more until the tool is genuinely helpful and not just annoying.
Okay, refine it in a controlled environment.
Right. Then you gather data from that pilot. Document the time saved by catching secrets before they hit the repo. Document any potential incidents it prevented. Show real metrics. Then you share those success stats, the proof, with the wider engineering org to get buy-in for broader adoption.
Use data to persuade.
Use data to persuade. If there's still significant pushback on a specific requirement, okay, clarify the risk again, using evidence. Maybe that monetized risk calculation we discussed. Propose several options if possible. Offer to run another small pilot specifically to measure the perceived friction objectively. Then you sit down with engineering leadership. Either you decide together based on the data, or if they accept the risk, you formally document a time-bound risk acceptance that they sign off on. It's about transparency and shared understanding driven by evidence.
That pragmatic approach, using data for influence, that really feels like the core of the successful dose mindset, doesn't it?
I think so. It's not about being the smartest tech person. It's about pragmatic, risk-based execution and influencing others.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's quickly summarize the key takeaways, maybe run a quick mental simulation.
Sounds good. The essential mindset. Be pragmatic. Prioritize ruthlessly based on risk. Remember that formula. CDSS plus exploitability plus business context. And always, always use quantifiable data to influence the culture and get resources. Don't just rely on technical authority.
Okay, quick simulation then. Let's test those instincts. Your monitoring tools suddenly light up. Looks like a credential stuffing attack against your main web application. Tons of login attempts using known breached passwords. What are the immediate first, say, 3 moves for that small, augmented security team?
Okay, credential stuffing. Classic. Need to act fast. Follow the playbook first. Confirm the indicators. Use your login logs. Telemetry. Is it real? What's the scale? Second, containment. Immediately enable or tighten rate limiting on logins. Use your WAF rules to block malicious IPs or patterns. Slow the bleeding. Third, protect users. Trigger a forced reauthentication, maybe step up MFA for user segments you think are targeted, and definitely lock any accounts you confirm are compromised. Then you worry about customer comms once it's contained.
Confirm, contain, protect. Nice. That really encapsulates building that secure foundation under pressure. Now, we touched on this earlier, how leaders stay current with new threats. It's not just reading news headlines, is it?
No, not at all. Passive reading isn't enough.
The real key seems to be how they translate that raw intelligence into actual, concrete improvements in their defenses.
Exactly right. It's an active process. Good leaders track intel sources, vendor reports, ISACs, threat feeds, but then they actively validate. Does this new threat, this new technique, actually apply to our specific tech stack, our attack surface? They might map it to frameworks like MITRE, ATT, and CK to understand the tactics.
So they filter the noise.
They filter it and contextualize it. And then the crucial step, they use that validated intel to run targeted threat hunts in their own environment or specific tests to see if their current controls and detection rules would actually catch it. And if not, they update them. It's a continuous feedback loop.
Okay, so here's a final provocative thought for you, the listener. Tying back to all this pragmatism we've discussed today. Think about your own security program, or the one you want to build. How often are you really cycling that external threat intelligence, the knowledge of what attackers are doing right now, back into your operational defenses? Is it just a reactive thing you do after an incident? Or do you have a proactive process to ensure those insights genuinely change your controls, update your detection rules maybe every week, every sprint? That active feedback loop, that feels like the ultimate difference between just knowing about a threat and actually being prepared to defend against it.
That's a great challenge, making intel truly actionable, constantly.
Something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.